Most barbers think they got a client problem. Well, you don't. You got a content problem. Because if your content was doing its job, you'd be booked out and you'd have new clients sliding in your DMs every single week. And on top of that, you'd be raising your prices without losing a single person. And the fact that you're not doing any of that, well, that's not a skill issue, right? It's not a city issue, and it's definitely not a follower count issue. It's literally just the content. I know a lot of barbers pushing 10, 15 reels a week, getting literally no views, and get in their head saying like, it's the algorithm that hates me, you know, my city's too small, or I just need more followers. Well, that's literally just cope. And the real reason, well, there's only 4 content types that actually move the needle for a barber business, and most of y'all are only posting one of them. So today I'm gonna break down all 4 and what each one actually does for your business, and one in particular that 90% of barbers only post, right? And it's the exact reason why all those barbers are stuck at $30 cuts. This is the same 4-part content approach that took me from $30 cuts and 2K months posting literally random shit, right, to $100 cuts, you know, 25K months, 600,000 followers across all platforms, and working only 3 days a week behind the chair. And this is the same system that my student Jack used to go from $30 cuts to $50 cuts in just 30 days, and then also hitting his first 1K day at 90 days. This is the same system Gustavo used to go from 5.5K to 9K months in 40 days at 17 while still in barber school. So if you're a barber actually serious about, you know, getting off the $30 a cut rat race, then actually lock in, because this video is for you. So quick thing before we get into the 4 content types, right? If you don't catch this part, the rest of the video won't really hit. So just really pay attention here. So your content needs to do 4 jobs. 1 is get seen. You need to get eyeballs, you need to get reach, right? You need, you know, cold people landing on your page. Job 2, it's gotta build trust, right? Make them feel like you take care of them, right, before they even sit in your chair. Job 3, it's gotta prove that you're an expert, right? Not just some dude, you know, spinning clippers around, right? But someone who actually knows why hair does what it does. And then job 4, it's gotta just like validate your skill, right? You have to provide visual proof that you can actually cut hair, right? 4 jobs, 4 content types, 1 for each. And here's what happens to, you know, most of y'all. You pick one job, usually validating skill, and we'll get there. And you post it on repeat thinking that it's gonna do all 4. Well, it just never does, because you're only doing one step only, and that's why nothing you post succeeds or ever converts new clients into the business. But when you actually run all 4 together, I'm gonna show you why that turns into an absolute content new client booking machine. So let's get into it. So starting with the GOAT, right? The one content type that does about 80% of the like heavy lifting in the whole entire system, which is consultation videos. And you know why it actually matters? Well, think about, you know, like why people don't book with a new barber. You know, every time they're scrolling past a barber on their For You page, you know, 3 fears are actually running in their head. They're thinking, you know, what if the cut's trash? Or what if it's just like mad awkward? Or what if I drop 80 bucks and I regret this haircut? Every new client fear you've ever had as a client yourself, other people got that same fear about you, right? A consultation video kills all 3 of those fears in just 20 seconds. And that's why it's the literal closer. It's not just content, it's a pre-sold experience. A consultation video is you on camera, you know, with your client before or during the cut, you know, asking questions, analyzing the hair, recommending a style, and just overall just vibing with a dude. What it's actually doing is simulating the experience of sitting in your chair before the viewer ever even books, right? They watch you talk to a client who looks just like them, right? They watch you confidently recommend a cut and explain why. You know, they watch you handle a client's concerns, right? By the time they're done watching, they feel like they already know you, right? That's not just a quick little video. That's a literal trust machine that makes clients come to you. So you're probably wondering, like, how do I actually do this? Right, well, there are 5 questions that every consultation video I shoot runs the same 5 questions. So just copy this exactly. The first question being, how'd you find me? Their answer gives you instant social proof. If they say TikTok, then everyone else that's watching on TikTok will relate. If they say a friend referred them, well, that's just word of mouth proof. The next question is, what are we doing today, right? This is very open-ended, right? Just let them talk, right? The more they talk, the more content you actually got to work with. The next question is, any issues with your hair, right? This is the money question, right? This is where you become a problem solver instead of just a barber. Where did you drive from? If they, pulled up 2 hours away, that's an insane social proof in a 10-second clip. And then my personal favorite, you got a girlfriend, right? Or anything really personal. This allows you to get a story from the client. It gets a moment and turns the video from a haircut into, a human being. Your personality makes you stand out from a whole sea of barbers. And that's it. 5 questions. The structure does work. The old barber brain says, I gotta post just clean haircuts. While the new barber brain, right? That brain is making actual money and says clients don't book just based off of results. They book based off of trust, right? And that's what we're doing here with the consultation video. A clean cut on your feed proves that you can cut, but a consultation video proves that you can be trusted to cut. Huge difference, right? Massive. This is exactly what Jack was posting to go from $30 cuts to $50 cuts in 30 days. Also hitting his first 1K day from literally posting consultations. The same with Gustavo, going from 5.5K months to 9K months in just 40 days at 17, right? He was posting the same thing, consultations, right? And that's the closer, right? Type 1. Right? The one that you need to be posting more than literally anything else. Consultation videos are the closer, but before you can close anybody, they gotta actually land on your page first, in the first place, right? And that's where type number 2 actually comes in, which is, before and after transformations. This is where new eyeballs live. Consultations convert, but they don't always go viral right away, while transformations actually do. This is a content type most likely to get someone who's never heard of you scrolling onto your page in the first place. Now, here's where most barbers mess this up. They post a haircut. Well, don't just post a haircut. Post a transformation. A big difference. A clean haircut is a clean fade with music, right? Cool, but nobody freaking cares about that. A transformation is, going from chopped before to a big reveal after, right? It makes a viewer actually feel emotion, because if your transformation doesn't make the viewer feel anything, they're just gonna scroll past and forget about you. So here's how to actually make them feel something. These are the 3 rules that I go by. Rule number 1 is you gotta make the dude look so bad in the before, right? Let the dude look rough, if he has long hair, embrace that, right? Messy, no styling, right? Make him look like he's tired, bad lighting, right? And just overall, just make him look chopped. If he has a, big forehead, reveal his big forehead by combing his hair back. Rule number 2, make the after look absolutely elite, right? So now you're doing the opposite of what you did before. Clean backdrop, good lighting, client's hair styled, right? A slight smirk, smiling, slow turn to the camera, right? Make him feel like a different human being in the after. And then rule number 3 is, a tight edit, right? A clean review, fast cuts in the middle, don't drag it, right? Beat drop or a clean pause on the reveal, right? Get to the money shot quick, because nobody really cares about your blurry taper. They're thinking about how the dude who came in looking rough walked out looking like a different person. So when somebody watches a strong transformation, their subconscious goes and thinks like, if he can do that for some random dude, right? Imagine what he can do for me. And that's the thought that you want them having. That's the exact thought that, gets them onto your page. And once they're on your page, types 1, 3, and 4 do the rest. All right, so here's a content type that separates $40 barbers from $100 barbers, like deadass. So these are the problem solution voiceovers. $30 barbers just cut hair, while $100 barbers actually solve problems. I want you to read that again, because the second that you actually position yourself as a problem solver, you stop competing on price, right? Because now you're not just the barber down the street that does fades, right? You're actually somebody that is a barber who knows how to fix, a client's cowlick, or the guy that can actually line up up your lineup without it like looking super weird overall. And it's a voiceover video. And here are the 5 steps to actually recording a client converting voiceover. So the hook has to start with a problem. This is why your haircut never grows out right. That's just an example. Step 2, you gotta show actual clips of the problem. You know, if a client has hairline issues, show that. If they have uneven patches, show that. If they have just like bad growth in their hair, and barbers usually like cut it wrong, show that as well. And then step 3, you have to actually explain why it happens. You know, flex your expertise. Most barbers don't know for the natural growth of your hair here, or like most barbers push back your lineup because, you know, they think that they got to do that to get it crispy, right? Something like that. And then step 4, actually show you fixing it, right? Clean, confident clips of your actual work and just show how you're actually fixing it. You know, if you're fixing a lineup, then, you know, show you actually like maybe like pushing the lineup back with a comb and then combing it down to show that you're not pushing it back overall. And then step 5, you got to have a quick reveal of the result. And that's it. You know, a voiceover over everything. Call it out with authority. So how to find infinite problem solution content, right? This is a part that nobody really tells you about. You know, you don't gotta invent problems. Your clients hand them to you literally every single day. They sit in your chair and maybe they're like, bro, like my hair never sits right on this side, right? Maybe it always poofs out. Or I got one spot that grows faster than everything else, right? Or my last barber absolutely messed up my hairline. That's the content and that's a video. So just write it down, film the fix, and then post it. And me personally, this is like a good gem for any barbers is I keep a note on my phone just for this. You know, every complaint I hear in the chair, straight into my notes, right? I never run out of content ideas because this is the content that justifies your price. When somebody sees you breaking down why their hair does what it does and exactly how that you fix it, suddenly a $100 cut doesn't sound crazy. Like it literally will just sound like a fair deal because you are no longer a barber at that point, right? You are an expert at what you do. You're a problem solver. So now we got type number 4, and I need you to listen to this because this part you have to be really careful because this is the one that cooks most barbers, you know, and it's the action reels, right? Skill showcases, right? Close-ups of you actually cutting, you actually doing the work, right? Doing a clean lineup, you know, maybe smooth fade transition, scissor work, or even like slow-mo razor details, you know, satisfying clipper sounds. And while, you know, like these type of reels, they aren't bad, but this is the same content type that 90% of barbers only post, and it's the exact reason why they're broke. Not because, you know, these type of reels are bad, which they're not, but they do a specific job, but they don't do the other 3 jobs. And if this is the only thing that you're posting, you're stuck with, you know, type 4 alone. And type 4 alone does not convert, but they still do matter. Even after somebody, you know, fucks with your personality from a consultation, even after they, you know, maybe trust your expertise from a problem solution, even after, you know, maybe a transformation that made them want to actually book, they, you know, might still have one question in their head, and it is he actually good though, right? An action reel literally answers that. Visually, no words, clean lineup, smooth fade, you know, maybe like super clean steady razor, right? It's basically like the cherry on top, right? It makes the viewer say like, okay, yeah, this guy can cut hair. And how to actually do them right? Well, you need to be close up with your actions. You need to have good lighting overall, you know, clean audio on the clippers so you could really like hear the haircut. And then you got to be like fast paced in the middle, you know, slow mo on details, and have a very satisfying finish at the end. But with these, you got to keep them pretty short, you know, like 8 to 12 seconds overall. And really with these, like no stories needed. They just need to look good, right? If your skill is not showcased, it doesn't exist, right? Nobody cares how good you are. They just want you to prove it on a 10-second phone screen, right? So that's all we're doing here, right? So post these, but just don't post only these, right? Because that's the trap that most barbers fall into. But at the end of the day, if you do use these, you can use these as a cherry on top and not the whole freaking cake altogether. Now, here is actually how all 4 of these work together. I want you to stop thinking about all of these as 4 separate content types because literally they're not. They are all a funnel that all work together. This is the exact barber booking funnel that I used in order to scale from $30 to $100 a cut, obviously, right? So you have a cold viewer, right? Somebody scrolling who's never really heard of you, right? They then land on maybe like a transformation video, and that's the attention. And now they're on your page because now they see this problem solution voiceover now, and they actually think like, damn, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. And then from there, they watch a consultation, and that builds even more trust. The viewer's like, okay, this guy would actually take care of me, and this guy is actually personable. All right. And then on top of that, they see an action reel, and that gives them even more validation. You know, if they didn't already book from, you know, either the problem solution or the consultation, they get more validation, and there, boom, that's a new booking, right? That's the exact trust that they need in order to actually book in to your calendar. 4 types of content do 4 different jobs. There is only one goal here, and obviously it's just to get new clients into the business. But if you skip any of these content types, the literal whole thing breaks, right? Most barbers run just one step and wonder why nobody's converting, right? You run all 4 in rotation, just give it 60 days and your business is not gonna look the same, right? I literally promise you, bro. This is a little production hack to where you can actually get, you know, 3 videos out of 1 client. Before I let you go, you know, there is one thing that's going to save you hours a week if you actually run this. And this is where like most barbers read what I just said and think, ain't no way I'm filming a consultation, you know, problem solution, voiceover, and a transformation and action reel, right? That's a full-time job, but it's not. You know, 1 client can literally get you 3 videos and sometimes even 4, right? So with 1 client, you could literally get a consultation video, film the full conversation, you know, at the start of you actually cutting their hair. And then on top of that, get an action reel, tripod shots while you cut, you know, actually get some shots while you're cutting the hair. And then on top of that, the transformation and then the problem solution. Before and after voiceover actually explaining the problem and then the fix, right? So you could get that as well with the action, you know, shots that you're getting with the tripod overall. Then on top of that, you know, you could reveal the action at the, then on top of that, you could reveal the reaction at the end, and you could just like clip that separately in all the videos. So at the end of the day, right, do the math, right? If you got 3 clients, that's literally 9 pieces of content. And every single week you do that, you know, you're gonna get 60 plus pieces of content. Every single month, you're going to have so much content and you're not ever going to run out of days where you don't have content overall. And this is exactly how dudes blow up in literally 60 days. Not by being gods of the camera, but by filming once and editing 3 times. And then on top of that, get an editor, right? Shit's easy, right? If anything, you know, obviously I can put you on with my editing team. So real quick, let me actually like tie all this up. I said it at the start of the video, but I'm gonna say it one more time at the end because, you know, it's the whole entire point of this video. Most of y'all don't have a client problem. You have a content problem. You know, your skill is good enough and your city's big enough, right? Your follower count is a fake obstacle, right? But what's actually missing is a content system. All 4 types, just run it. If you want me to literally hold your hand through setting this up in your business, because look, the information in this video is real, but running it by yourself is just gonna come with a lot of trial and error, and that's just the truth. But I do have an option for you. I'm building out this dope ass program for barbers who are serious about actually scaling past 10K a month. Every one of these 4 content types dialed in, you know, feedback on your actual videos from me, and then editors that I provide to you that handle all the editing for y'all, so you can literally just focus on filming and cutting hair. On top of that, having weekly calls and the full system done with you. This is for guys who are tired of grinding 6 days a week for freaking peanuts, right? Tired of being invisible online, and who actually want to be charging $100 cuts and working 3 days a week like I do, right? So the link is in the description. Jump into the application and I'm gonna get back to you myself. With that being said, I'm gonna see you guys on the next video. Peace.